Hi, Nick Siegfried asked us to get on and tell you a little bit about Building for Good. Uh, my name's Will Hill. I'm past chair of the forum, and I conceived with others the idea of starting Building for Good, which we launched in 2019 as a nonprofit that gets forum construction lawyers paired with charities and nonprofits who are helping others. So I thought that anyone with infrastructure needs, whether it was homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, food banks, cancer support centers, schools serving the inner city, that if they had infrastructure needs and they needed construction lawyers, we could find them great construction lawyers. So we got this thing going. And joining me here is Steve Lesser, who's a development chair of Building for Good and a board member. We have a board comprised of past forum leaders and others, and we're trying to make a difference in the community.
Well, I'll say one thing, Will, and I hadn't done a lot of pro bono construction work before Building for Good, but I have one story to tell that might be of interest in that I did a construction contract for Gilda's of South Florida cancer facility. And when I completed that contract, the head of the facility called me and said it was a beautiful contract. And I've never had a compliment like that from any paying client ever. And so it is very, very meaningful and fulfilling to volunteer your time and your services and the wisdom that you've earned from being a construction lawyer and actually pass it on in a pro bono way. And I think that's the most rewarding thing that we can do.
Well, it's not only a beautiful contract, but completed by a very handsome construction lawyer, Steve.
Thank you very much, Will. I do appreciate that. Well, but, Building for Good only exists if we can raise money. And that's why we count on contributions from volunteers, especially the support that we've gotten, the phenomenal support that we've gotten from the Forum on Construction Law that has helped us get us off the ground. And all the participants that devote their legal time for Building for Good are all forum members. That's a requirement. And it says two things. Number one, we want to give back to the forum. We want to give the forum an opportunity to participate in this program. And also, we know that the forum has excellence in construction lawyers too. And so we also raise money for doing our Racing for Good events. We are now in Las Vegas. This is technically our fourth Racing for Good. The first was in Tucson. The second was virtually during the pandemic. The third was in New York City in Central Park. And here we are in Las Vegas for another fun time at it. And what better way to do that than to get everybody together, create some buzz, and have a run or a walk for charity. And I think it's been very successful as a fundraising program.
Well, Steve, as development chair, I will tell our audience that he conceived the idea of Racing for Good when we first started in Tucson, and we've taken it from there. And Steve has always put his creative talent to good use. He did a very slick video, and he got Elvis involved, and that's the sort of creativity and fun that we're doing at Building for Good. So we're having some fun trying to raise some money with Steve's leadership, and we are also doing some good. So we have dozens of Building for Good stories that are only made possible by contributions from people's. It doesn't take a lot of money, but with staffing, we can connect the dots and get the nonprofits who need work, the great construction lawyers, to do it.
And Will, under your leadership, I think that we've made great strides because now we have projects all over the country. I know that we have projects in California. We have projects in Florida. We have projects in Alabama now. Where else do we have projects?
We're really coast to coast. We're operating in formally 12 network states. And this you can find in our website, buildingforgood.org. And then we have some pilot projects in places like, as Steve said, California, Alabama, and places in between. Actual network states, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Virginia, Florida, Minnesota, and others. But the need is universal. If there is a nonprofit or a charity that are helping those in need or helping others, there's a Building for Good lawyer that we can help them do that.
You know what I think is also kind of interesting, what we've seen as a phenomena, is that most of the lawyers that support Building for Good, their law firms are actually very supportive of their efforts to give their pro bono time. And I've seen law firms publicize it on their website. I know that we have a section on our website for charitable giving called Becker Gives Back.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of firms doing that as well, because I think that it makes a difference to the camaraderie of the firm. And I think it matters because I think that clients that we service like to see the firm do something other than just being a lawyer for money, to donate their time to valid and worthy charities.
And I'm glad you mentioned that about firms, because something that people don't know are members of the ABA. Some might not know it, but the ABA has guidelines. But they'd like people to be able, lawyers to be able to volunteer 50 hours a year of their time on pro bono. So one of the reasons we thought about this is construction lawyers don't have a lot of opportunity to do that. A construction lawyer can't necessarily help a homeless person or a victim of domestic violence or someone who is hungry. But we can certainly help organizations that are helping those people. And through the Becker Gives Back program and programs like that, you can provide opportunities for pro bono lawyers to do that. So we're very happy that you're listening to this. We're looking to see you around the forum and get involved in Building for Good, buildingforgood.org. Check us out. Give some money if you can. It'll go a long way.
You know, as a final note, also, let's remember that not everybody that supports Building for Good is a lawyer. We have a lot of sponsors here from the construction industry that sponsor and exhibit at the forum that have actually done us great service in supporting us financially and with volunteer hours toward making this organization what it is today. So for that, we're very grateful. Thank you.
Check them out. Our corporate sponsors and the law firm sponsors, they're on our website at the Racing for Good tab. Thanks for listening, and keep on building for good.